Good afternoon to you. This is an old Westinghouse AM/FM tube radio. It's kind of interesting. You don't see, at least I don't see, too many AM/FM radios. They're always AM only. This old gal is not in the greatest shape, but it's not bad shape either. I thought we'd start at the beginning here and show you how to fix this up. Let's kind of look on the case over here a little bit. And it's got a piece broke out of the grill. That might be a problem, but I don't know. As found. So let's see here. One of the other obvious problems we got right away is the back is floating around loose on this. I'm not sure exactly how this was attached. I believe it's probably held in by down here by a couple little fasteners. Back in the day, they used to make these little metal fasteners that kind of had a bulby. They look like a little kind of T and had a bulby place on them. I'm gonna look out in these, the way this is cast in here. If I can't find any of these fasteners, this hole actually goes all the way through, so I might be able to put a small screw and a little soft rubber washer on each side and just hold that up. Another interesting little piece about this is, actually a couple of pieces are interesting about this. Like I said, this is AM/FM. This actually has a kind of a socketed AC cord. There's a little socket in here I'll show you. And another interesting little trinket. Huh, right there, okay. Didn't see that. We'll back up. Right there it says, note. To service, remove screw from center and 2 bottom clips. Okay, so it did have a clip. And apparently that right there, okay, there's a screw right there. So, and this is, I don't know how you don't really service this real easily because the back won't come all the way off. Oh, well, something has been added. Uh-oh. Let's back up here. Looks like somebody's been chopping at this baby. Yeah, looks like that's been included in. Oh, there was a. Looks like that somebody drilled a little hole in the back there. Another thing that was interesting about this particular radio. Oh, I see. There's a little bracket on the back of the radio that holds that screw. Okay. So this did have a couple of those little clips. I wonder if I can find some of those. This had a input for maybe a record player or chassis of this receiver is directly connected to one side of the line. Remove back cover completely before servicing. Okay, so this is what they call a hot chassis. These can be a bit dangerous if you don't know what's going on. I'm gonna stop you here. I'll be back. Okie dokie, we're back. So we're talking about hot chassis. And this is one of them. This also had a place for, well, you know, I think somebody added this. They did a fair job though. But that was scary. Where for additional AM pickup, see instruction book. And blue wire connected to left terminal of built-in antenna. Disconnect blue wire to attach to your own leads external dipole. Okay. Weird. Well, one of the little issues we're going to have here is taking this out of its case, because that back doesn't come away very far. That's all further. That's okay. We can flip it up on its side. I don't know if this is a... I don't believe this is Bakelite. This is probably a plastic. But it's pretty nice. Let's go ahead and we'll take the tubes off there. What the heck? So I get that to come off so far and then it stops? That's kind of weird. What's that about? Huh. Okay. Now, here's an old trick. You get just a tiny bit of soap. And this, what the deal is here is there's kind of a, I don't know, there's kind of a nice little knob there. And where the hell's it at? There it is. And this one was on, and then this other one's kind of a beauty ring or whatever you want to call it. Anyway, it doesn't want to come off, so we'll put a little soap on there. And work it down there a little bit. See if we can get that to come off. Of course, now I gotta get the soap off my hand so I can grab the darn knob. Which is not coming off worth a darn. Babies are really on. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. One of the things I could do that too. That would help. I can loosen the chassis up in here, and it might shove forward a little bit. There we go. There we go. Wow, that baby is really on there. There we go. Well, that soap helped a lot. Okay, I see what the deal is. This has a kind of a split tensioner, and there's a little steel ring that holds that together, and man is it grippy. And there's a tiny little spider's nest back there. Let's see. So let's see if we can get the other one off without a fight. Yeah, about that. Wow. That baby is really on there too. Those have very, very strong springs. When you take these off, yeah, there's... always give these a look, because, see, this one is actually different than this one. This one went on the bottom. There's a switch down here that says AM, FM, next to the tinning. And that one just slid right off. Oh. Because it's different. Weird. It has no retentioner ring on it. We'll set those off to the side. So, let's see here. While you're doing this, you might look around to see if you see a model number anywhere. Something down there. That might be a model number. Oh, really? Excuse my head. That sucks. It's rubbed off. Or it's faded away. Looks like 2 something. Something T7 H20. It's not good. Well, that's okay. We can. I'll show you how to figure that out. That would be a good time to find a little bowl or a plastic bag or a sandwich box or something, some kind of a container to set your parts in. You always want to look at these real good and take a good hard look at them. And this wants to fall, so I'm going to hold it up. Okay, man, those screws are long. These appear to be the same. The reason you want to look at this stuff is if you take something apart, sometimes you'll have a perimeter of screws and you might find one that's shorter or longer than the others. There's a big warning bell. Especially when it comes time to put it back in. You put the wrong screw in the wrong hole, you could have the back end of a screw poking out the face of some valuable antique or some darn thing. That would really suck. Well, why don't we back up a little bit here. Why is this? Oop, that doesn't sound good. What's this hanging up on? Well, let's try a different tact. we'll lay it on its back. Just take the case up from that worked pretty good. Take that. Oh, I see. There's a... Well, maybe. Okay, there's some blocks in there, and that bezel probably held it in. This case is in really good shape except for that break. That's too bad. Oh, and there's a... Is that real? Yep. There's a little logo on the top. That's held into the case by some little metal wires, for lack of a better word. Well, there's not a lot in this baby, is there? Some little plastic. Oh, that's where the mounting screws went. And is that supposed to be that way? That's weird. Oh, I see. Oh, I'm lucky man. Looks like we got a little fixing up to do here, but that's okay. This apparently is a piece of cloth that was doused in glue, and looks like it sat right there. And this, I wonder if that's, boy. Can't decide whether that's bent or not. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that. Boy, I don't know. This is a piece of brass that's painted. I don't know, maybe not. That's kind of hard to tell. Sure looks like that road on there. I don't think so. I think that just... Okay, I'm just going to leave it the way it is. I can't tell. It's kind of hard to tell. It's got a big curve in it. This obviously was behind there. Here's what I was talking about earlier. Somebody knocked that in. And it looks like it's all there. So, yeah, actually that rung underneath there has a tiny little crack in it, but that's okay. This is better than a poke in the eye. Wonder what to glue that together with. Tiny drop of super glue. Fits pretty good, but I might not be able to get it back in there. I don't know. We'll see. Well, let's put it off to the side where it's safe, along with this. Wish I knew how that was. I don't know. Weird, there's some kind of cardboard bezels there to keep you from seeing inside the guts of the radio. It's a nice touch. And this thing has a heck of a dial string rigmarole on it. Let's see, how does this work? Yeah, there's a wheel that looks like it's made out of wood. That's interesting. Man, somebody turned that, or a machine turned that? So is this two separate circuits or one very complicated one? And there's somebody's, probably mine. There's a lot of crap wound up in here. I think this is one very complex dial string. This thing is pretty annoying. Maybe. Yeah, this is... yeah, this is... Well... So, the first thing you do, at least I do, think about covering this speaker up. And we'll give it a little light dusting here and knock some of the cooties off. That's interesting. This tuner section over here, it appears to be mounted for lack of a better word, on some rubber. And then probably so that when you bang on the table it doesn't shake the tuning. This, since it says FM in it, it might be maybe their tuner wasn't too great. There's like 4 little rubber corners. This I don't care for. We're going to get rid of that pretty quick. Matter of fact, we're going to get rid of that right now. This is some bodge that somebody kludged into there. Yeah, how about we get rid of that? If you're going to work on an old radio, you need an old soldering iron. I do anyway. I really like working on stuff with kind of the equipment of the time. It makes it more fun. I think this is a pretty old Weller soldering iron. This is a Bakelite body, actually. And we'll get her warmed up here. This is a WD-135. I'm not sure when this was made. It's sort of the predecessor to like the 8200 or the Junior. Okay, so we'll unsolder that. Well, we hit it one more time. And we'll solder that. Come on, let go. There we go. Throw that away. What somebody did there was they took the output transformer's lead to the speaker and they opened it up, and that's kind of interesting, that speaker lead. A lot of them have cloth. Hey, where's that at? I can't even see that thing. There it is. It's hiding. This one they just put the winding leads out in the open. Anyway, they opened the let me bring it around here. Sorry for my bad dollying. Yeah. What they did was they opened that and spliced this in. They probably had an external speaker. Probably for FM. Probably made it look like stereo. Anyway, we'll put this back in. And we'll just hook it right back up. Make it look like somebody gave a damn. So we're caught there, a little touch of solder, and we're ready. And I'll just close that up a little bit. It's actually a little long, but that's okay. Yeah, I don't know, I'm trying to make it look like, I don't know, it's not a thing of beauty. This has, oh, there we go. This has, what is this got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tubes. And this, instead of a rectifier tube, has what's called a selenium rectifier. And a lot of guys don't like those. They can be kind of troublesome. But we'll test it out and see what we find here. I'm just kind of dusting around in here a little bit. Be a little careful on the back. Like I said, somebody bodged this in, but they did a pretty good job. Huh. You have to be real careful doing something like that. It could turn out poorly. I don't know, I might. think I'm going to investigate that and see where that was. Like I said, somebody did a pretty damn decent job of doing it. Here's the little socket on the bottom. This is kind of the predecessor to hot chassis or live chassis TVs, where you took the back off and it sort of disabled the TV and you were supposed to know what was going on. Then you'd either have to have a cord to cheat this interlock or a death cord. We'll use the death cord. Well, we can go a couple different ways here. We can try and fire it up and see what's going to happen. I'm going to move you back the other way here. Or we can... well, let's look around a little bit. It never hurts. Let's see here. We'll just flip this baby on its back. And see if there's anything real obvious in here. It didn't look like there was anything obvious on the top. You can see the cutout for that. Let me get a stick here. Hang on. There's a cutout in the chassis here for this other chassis. Ooh, that looks dangerous. There's a very... yeah, there's a couple pretty small... well, yeah, about that. Let's not poke around in there too much. There's some kind of interesting looking RF stuff. The band switch is kind of hid in here. This is kind of clever. This is probably the local oscillators all buried. And the switching is for AM and FM. Over on this side, what do we got? Anything good? There's the power input there. Remember me saying something about that blue wire for the FM antenna? This is it here. It goes to one side of the AC. That's pretty scary. You can see it goes to one side of the AC through a very small capacitor. I bet that's like about 50. It's a little, what they call a domino capacitor or a mica. And it looks like about 50. Back then they called it microfarad. Some ancient history. It's actually a picofarad. It looks like about 50 picofarad. That'd be about right. What else we got here? Well, what else? There's a scary looking... is that a filter cap? Look, it looks like it. There's some paper caps. These are the notorious paper caps a lot of guys grouse about. Here. So I got about 4 or 5 of them. What's that? Is that tape? Looks like friction tape. Oh, that's where somebody bodged that in. Right there. Right here. That's where somebody kludged that switch and external jack in. How'd they do that? Looks like, so what we got here? Where's that at? Did I see that? Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, that could be reversed. I might have to do that. That tape isn't even, well, it's dried up. But yeah, they didn't have plastic tape back then. Friction tape. It's kind of tape that's cloth impregnated with some sort of a resin and glue and stickiness. I think they still make friction tape, I believe. The only place you'll find it is probably at the hockey rink. Basically what somebody did is they lifted the lead that goes to the center of the volume control. And sorry if my head's in the way. Can't see what's going on here. And it comes in. Just trying to find out where this. Oh, I see what's going on. I got this all over the place. That's one lead. That one's another. Why have they got 3 of them? Probably a ground. Okay. Oh, for the time being, I'll leave that alone. I'll just make a mental note of it. what else have we got here? This big steel cylinder looking thing, which is probably really aluminum, is the filter cap for the power supply. Doesn't appear to be leaking. If it was going to leak anywhere, it would be around in here. There's only... It's interesting, it's held in with a little clamp. That's funny. There's a wire there that runs through the clamp around to a tie point here. A little terminal strip. There's another capacitor, but that's all disc capacitor. Not so susceptible to failure. It's got some pretty old resistors. Look like they came off the beach. Those can be a little drifty. Well, a little puzzled as to what that is. Old radio point-to-point wiring is pretty, I don't know, not scary, but interesting. You get spoiled, used to looking at circuit boards and things look very organized. When they're out here kind of floating in space, you have to think more how things were built, kind of bottom up, hopefully. And this is the tuner section over here. This is the band switch and tuning. And since this is AM FM, probably all this interesting looking stuff here is the FM. So it's a little different. This is all where the antenna and stuff. This has a kind of a back antenna or a loop antenna. A lot of radios do. Well, I'll tell you what, let's flip this baby up on its face and kind of get going here. I'm going to use the dim bulb tester just because it would be something that somebody at home would have or made. Yeah, all this, this is not coming out the world's greatest. All this is something that somebody bodged in. It's probably, the audio probably comes out and goes back through. Man, somebody did a lot of work with that switch. Why is that so complicated? And one of these is a ground. I'm really tempted to get rid of all that, but I think for now I'll leave it alone. No, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll... Some tips of the trade. If you're going to jack around with old radios, you may want to cover this up with some plastic. I've got a sheet of plastic downstairs that has a number of holes punched in it, and I can just line it up. And I usually put a cable tie, put it over here, put a cable tie through it. Nobody ever ran their finger or a tool through the speaker. Never, never. That has never happened. Yeah, about that. Okie dokie. So what I'm going to do is get out the dim bulb tester here. This is something you can build at home. There's a video on it on my channel. We'll hook up the cord here, and I'm kind of cheating. I'm using what's called the death cord. Do this at your own peril. Basically, it's a cord that bypasses the interlock. You really ought to have an isolation transformer if you're going to work on these. That would be a big help. And right off the bat, I'm not going to explain that. I'll let you look that up on your own. A little homework for you. So we got... I'm going to use the dim bulb tester as a bring it up, don't know what the hell's going on tester. So it's off. I'll plug it in over here. And so this was volume. And so I turn it on. AM, FM, and we'll figure that out later. Well, I want to be in AM mode. AM's on the top always. Yeah, about that. Let's see. Yep, okay. So we on the top. I guess we're going to have to put a knob back on. Okay, so we're ready to go. Let's see, we're take the smallest wattage bulb. This is 7 watt, and this is kind of preliminary. Go ahead and screw that in. And if there's a dial light, you want to watch that. You can turn the radio on. Now keep in mind that this potentially has a hot chassis. What that means is one side of the wiring is grounded to the chassis. So if you get the cord plugged in wrong and get across it, you could get knocked on your butt. Or if you hook up a, say like a VTVM where one lead is grounded, you could have a hell of a spark there, or you could be running upstairs for a change of clothes. That's why you need an isolation transformer. So we're going to go ahead and turn this on. And the light's pretty bright. That's maybe not so good. There are a number of different ways to do this. A few guys like taking all the tubes out and then trying to power these up. And that's not a bad way of doing it. Everybody's got their own way. There's always more than one way to solve a problem. So I suggest you look at all the ways and make a decision. How about 11 watts? Well, that's not as bright. And we could take the voltmeter and see how much voltage is across that bridge rectifier. Or not the bridge rectifier, the selenium rectifier, excuse me. Remember, one side's on the chassis and one side's the selenium rectifier. What that side? Yeah. Or maybe that side. Yeah, we're getting a little voltage there. We got about, it's actually climbing. We clipped onto the voltage regulator, or it's, God, I'm just having a heck of a time. We clipped onto the selenium rectifier, which is a solid state rectifier. It's just slowly walking its way up, and actually that bulb is getting a little bit dimmer as it draws. The radio kind of gets juiced up here. Yeah, any of the tubes glowing? I don't see anything. Do we? See anything over there? I can turn the light out. Normally you don't turn the lights out in your shop, but from time to time it is a help. Yeah, it's still climbing up there. It's at 27 volts. Huh. Well, and so we turn that off, it should drop back down, yeah. Well, let's see here. So that was an 11 watt marquee bulb. Oh, about a 25 watt bulb. And I believe this radio is probably about 30 watts. So this is 26 watts. We're getting up there. So yeah, that jumped up pretty high. 70. It ought to start coming on here pretty soon. Yeah, we're up there pretty far. Oh, heard a little pop. That's not good. It's going down. Oh, oh, oh. Here we go. A little buzzy.
$100, $300, $5,798. If you're struggling with this be your answer. And the bigger your
a little crackly. That volume control could use some work. So we get about 70 volts DC into the radio. The tubes must be heating up. I don't see them though. Well, where to go from here? Usually what I do is I let the radio sit a little bit and just kind of idle. It's probably pretty happy. Control need a little work. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll shut you off, come back in a little bit.